you just can't be dependent on that. It's May 15th, Sunday night. Here we are, rock and roll time. Welcome everybody. And a couple things. First of all, we have a Memorial Day Sunday night problem. So here's my solution is we're going to go longer tonight, about 30 minutes. And then next Sunday night, we're going to start 30 minutes earlier and then maybe end a little later. So does anybody have a problem with that? But what that means is you better be on your game with your grant proposal. So there's some good news and there's some other news. So we're going to start with Kwame, and we're just going to dive right in. So Kwame, why don't you give me the name of your organization? And let me pull up GuideStar real quick. What I'm going to try to do is while you're doing a presentation, I'm going to try to show the tax return. So what's the name of your organization?
Athletics and Beyond.
Yeah. How do you spell athletics? LEC?
Huh?
Spell athletics for me.
ATHLECTICS.
Let's spell it wrong. Hang on just a second. ATH, right?
Mm-hmm.
LEC?
Yes.
Let's see, it's in Colorado, right?
Correct.
Okay, I think I found it. So let me pull it up. Show them my number form. And let's get it up here. So on this one, I don't have things marked up like I will on
You don't have what?
I won't have the tax return marked up on some of the other presentations. I got them early, so I was able to mark the tax return a little bit. Will be good. So
I downloaded it. Oh, you have it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I just yeah. So anyway, go ahead, sir. Tell us all about it.
Tell you all about it. All right. So Athletics and Beyond was started in 2005 by two brothers that are local Denver residents, Ali and Narcy Jackson. They actually started this program in Montbello High School. And what they wanted to address was the fact that a lot of 8th and 12th graders were at risk of dropping out of school. And statistically, around that time, I would say about 50% of 9th grade students failed to graduate by the 12th grade. And so their whole mission was to mentor and coach these at-risk youth in underserved communities. And so their mission statement is basically to create opportunity through exposure. And I really like that, you know, that whole idea of creating opportunity through exposure, because a lot of the kids in inner cities, they can't see beyond their city block. They can't see beyond their high school. They can't see beyond potentially bad examples of parents or peers that are surrounding them. So they don't know that there's opportunities beyond their immediate demographic. And Athletics and Beyond is a resident-led nonprofit, meaning that all the volunteers and staff live within the community that they're serving. And they believe in what they call a whole child approach to mentoring these youth, which encompasses various different aspects of their development, such as physical, social, intellectual, emotional, spiritual. They administer this through two different verticals within their organization. You have the athletic side and the beyond side. The athletic programs include 7-on-7 football, wrestling, boxing, gymnastics, strength and conditioning training, and baseball. And on the beyond category, that includes academic support, resources, intensive mentoring. They host NCAA eligibility center workshops. They require and demand academic tutoring through Club Z, which they actually own one of those franchises. They provide ACT, SAT preparation and testing. They continually monitor the students' academic progress, and they offer girls empowerment workshops, boys life beyond sports workshops, and they also started something that's called SWAG, which stands, and they also host SWAG workshops. SWAG stands for Strong Women and Gentlemen. And the whole premise behind that is creating young men and women that are strong in mind, body, and in their soul. The other thing that they do that I thought was really interesting is that they have what's called career exploration. And what they do is they set up work site-based unpaid programs for the participants so that they can get insight into real world careers by shadowing professionals that work in those whatever specific industry that they're interested in. They also offer paid apprenticeships and career pathways through work-based learning. Some of the companies that they've partnered with is DeWalt, Muller Engineering, the Jekyll Foundation for STEAM Education, Work Now, Kiewit. They also have been partnered with Cross Purpose. One of the things that's one of the things that I love about them is that what I found is that there are a lot of nonprofits that they see a problem that they want to address, and they become an island unto themselves, and they want to take on all different facets to attempt to assist and serve the community. And what I love about Athletics and Beyond is that they have this idea of partnership. They really have embodied that idea of it takes a village, and it does, because we can't solve it all on ourselves. And I love the fact that they're willing to network. They've had a lot of different sponsors. In fact, they were on our radar because our store, we started the Be Good campaign a couple of years ago. And within the Be the Good campaign, we actually contribute to them at least twice a year. And we want to really step up our efforts in there because we really believe in what they're doing. I'm personally going to be doing more than just, especially after going through this, I'm going to be doing more than just, cutting a check. We don't want to just do that. We want to get more actively involved from a mentoring side. And so I'm going to be hosting mindset workshops with Coach Narcy, as well as doing cryptocurrency literacy with the youth there. So I'm excited about being able to do that. But they're a tremendous organization and making a ton of impact. They have a lot of the students that are going through their program. About 95% of them that are involved in athletics go on to play sports in college and actually get scholarships. I mean, from going to Oregon State, Kansas State, even Harvard. Not only that, 100% of the participants graduate on time. A lot of them, they have students that are pre-med right now. I mean, they're just making a tremendous impact. And one of the things that really spoke to me is just the fact of being able to take these kids and not just mentor them in sports, right? Because when you look at the inner city, by and large, a lot of Black and Latino children in the inner city that are athletically inclined, their primary focus is, a lot of them are in single parent households, and their mind is, I got to make it into the NFL. I got to make it into the NBA. And so every ounce of their energy is focused on that. And so what happens? They get in, they go through college, they make it into the NFL and the NBA, and then not too long afterwards, you see them on the news, right? Why? Because they don't know, number one, how to handle the the money that they're making. They've never made that much money in their life. So they get this check with this big lump sum of money and they don't know how to handle it. They're not prepared for that. They're not prepared to be on the stage that they find themselves pushed into because no one's really mentored them and prepared them to execute life on that level. And so I love the fact that it's athletics and beyond, and they really focus more on the beyond part by teaching them life skills, teaching them financial literacy, teaching them about character, teaching them how to dress for success, teaching them how to what success looks like and how you handle that success. And so what you have is young men and women that are going into the workforce, that are starting careers or even going into the entertainment industry and able to execute on a level that they wouldn't have been able to execute on had they not had that mentorship. And the other thing that really spoke to me is that just the whole idea of exposure. They're showing these kids what's possible. Because for a lot of them, they don't know what's possible. It's a big world out there, and some of them can't see beyond the gang violence. They can't see beyond their dad not showing up. They can't see beyond their mom potentially being addicted or not even being able to pay for extracurricular activities outside of their school. So this is giving these kids hope. It's giving them vision. It's giving them the opportunity to live and fulfill the potential that God created them to fulfill. And I think that that's what really impacted me the most. And they work tirelessly to do this. And they've done it without a single government grant or subsidy. They survive on in-kind donations and just the hearts of people that believe in their vision and want to help them execute that to create a better opportunity for these kids that were at one point in time at risk.
All right, Kwame, most times I have to encourage people to speak up and spend a little time on it, but I didn't have to with you, brother, so that worked out good. Let's take, anybody have a quick question before we do the boring stuff? All right, Kwame, let's go through the tax return.
Sure.
And you guys can see it on there. The first line, what did you give them on the first line?
0.63. So they scored them at a 2.
2, okay.
Yep.
So some of you that are struggling with tax returns, I highlighted it here. We divided 141 and we divided it by 224. So they get a 2 point. You know what they get the service revenue from, Kwame, by any chance? Or?
What was that?
You know what what the program service revenue comes from? What do they sell? They sell something.
So they have Club Z, which is their paid program for tutoring. And they offer that not only to the participants, but outside of those that are participating within A and B. Okay,
cool. Very good. By the way, very nice presentation. Yeah, really,
thank you.
Well done.
And you're excited about it.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I know where to take my kids now.
So on page 7, that's our, everybody has their little sheet. Let's do this real quick. Can everybody show me their little sheet? Score sheets. Well, look at that. We're making progress. Everybody, Lincoln, you got your score sheet there, buddy? Lincoln's looking for his sheet. Christian, you got your sheet? 1 minute. Dion, you got your sheet? This is our friend. This is our score sheet. All right, let's go back to where we at. Okay, so the second line, Kwame, is what? Page 7 and 8. What's it say there?
So that's basically counting how many people earn more than 170K. They actually don't have anybody. The only person that was on a payroll at the time was Yonoris Jackson, and she was at 58,625. So that was 0. And I gave them 3 points for that section.
Awesome. Now, sometimes what you gotta be careful of is sometimes stuff is contracted out, put somewhere else. So sometimes if it looks a little too good to be true, you have to kind of pay attention because, well, my boss is the one that would uses these, and his dad worked for the IRS, so we find all this stuff. Their income is up here somewhere. Yeah, 141, or I'm sorry, 224. So that looks about right. Are they how long have they been around?
I couldn't hear you.
How long have they been around?
Since 2005, but I think
Okay.
they had their designation in 2014.
Okay. Okay. Sounds like we're doing great stuff. So let's get back to where we were here. The next thing we look at is page 9.
Yeah, and they and that one we're looking at the how much of their funding comes to government grants, and I didn't see anything.
Right.
So that was a 0, and so they earned another 3 points there.
Yeah, that's 1 right. Yeah, that one's a 0. So that's another 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're looking good. And the next one is page 10. And on page 10, we look at 1B. And there's nothing in there. 1B is, yeah, so it means it's a 3. And then we look down here and we go with
25B.
B. Is it A, B, and C? Let's see, 25C. Oh,
25C would be on the next page on the next line. That one, it was 1B divided that by 25B, which was 0. So I gave them another 3 points for that one. And then for the next line on the third column, it was also a 3. I scored them.
yeah, so these two right here. There's now one thing that I always watch a little bit is if people have 0 advertising or marketing, I always like to see them spend some there, because I always say if you got something great going on, do some advertising, do some marketing, get the word out. But anyway, yeah, so they totaled out at 17, is that right?
Correct. And a lot of their marketing, believe it or not, I mean, they're all over the news. Everybody's writing. The Major League Baseball, they hosted an event in Denver, and they did a piece on them. Every news channel's done a piece on them, local periodicals. So they're getting a lot of free publicity.
That's the best kind,
Yeah.
especially if it's positive. So it sounds like they're doing a great job. So they have a webpage.
Yes, athleticsandbeyond.com.
Okay, let's take a quick view. And let's show real quick. That's the right one, correct? Is that correct?
That's it.
Okay. So that's what they're doing, folks. Good job. All righty, Kwame, great job. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It was awesome. Thank you. And so make sure you turn in yours. Let's go back to this screen here. Make sure you this is a little one pager. You got to do the organizational review form. Do you know where you have that, or do you know where that is?
Yeah, I've already got it. I completed that, and I've got their tax return downloaded, and I got the 990 completed. I just got to email it.
Okay, good. And I sent an email out today that said Beth, and I forgot the K, so I messed up. But anyway, it's Beth K. All right, well, that's how we do it, folks. Just like that. And that's our leadoff hitter. He's sitting on third base. Just gonna
Bring me home, people.
Gotta bring him home. So that was awesome. That was awesome. Okay, let's go to the next one. We're gonna try to knock 5 or 6 out tonight. I got a super long PowerPoint, but we got to get through these guys. So we're going to the Ben family. And let me see what I got here. Who's doing the Bountiful Food Pantry?
Me.
Okay, so let's pull up the tax return. And who's me again?
Lincoln.
Which one?
Michael.
Lincoln? Lincoln?
Yep.
Oh, hi, Lincoln. So Veronica's marking them down as I do the presentations. And I got the food pantry up here. Do you know about them, Lincoln, or how did you get to this point?
So me and my brother and my dad, we've all volunteered there before,
Okay.
doing some of their work.
Okay, and what is their work? Why do you like them? What do you like about them?
So what they do is they help. They can. Oh golly. Okay. They they make free meals for
Okay.
some families that need them, and
Okay.
they can have the families come grocery shop for free.
Okay.
And they also make lunch and breakfast packs for schools. Like for my school, they do that. And it helps a lot of kids. I see a lot of kids getting helped by that because I know a lot of them don't have parents that can supply 3 meals a day for them. And so they can go to the school early and get those packs of breakfast or food, lunch foods for free.
Do they do, so they make hot meals and then they also have a way of shopping for groceries? Is that,
Yeah.
they kind of do a little of both?
Mhm.
Okay, super. And when have you got, give me an example of the time you've gone down there.
I haven't volunteered there in a long time, but I do see
So we just did a food drive.
we do food drives in our neighborhood a lot.
Okay,
And the youth come around and grab food off people's porches if they put them out, and we go take it down to the food pantry.
okay, super.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've got a little speaker in your ear. So you're doing good. So you really like them. They do meals. Did you do the little analysis sheet on them? Our special sheet? So let's talk about the first item here. Tell me what the first line says, Lincoln.
They have 0%, so that's a 3 point.
Okay, so what is the first line? What are we supposed to do?
How much revenue comes from charging stuff. So if they don't get any money from selling stuff.
And so what do we divide? What do we divide here?
0 by line 9, which is 0 by 3 point. Wait, by line 12.
Okay, and that equals 0.
Yeah.
So that's 0%. How many points would they get?
3.
3 points. Okay, super. So let's go down and let's see a little bit. They got a little bit on these tax returns. There's some of you that are a little afraid of these things. They kind of describe in this section here a little bit about what the nonprofit does. And they also put a bunch in here on what the nonprofit does also. So you can kind of take a look and see what's going on. It looks like they did 10,000 households, 40,000 people, and that was for 1 year. And so it kind of shares the good news about what this group is doing. The annual revenue is it went down a little bit. What year is this? 2019, so can't blame COVID for that. But anyway, their revenue went down just a little bit. Any idea, Lincoln, why that's down or not really?
I'm not sure.
Okay. It's within the ballpark of correction. So what do we do next, Lincoln? What page do I go to?
Page 7 and 8.
Page 7 and 8. So here's page 7. Mark it here. And what are we looking for here?
How many people get paid more than 170,000?
Okay. Okay.
And that was 0.
How's this looking? Is this looking pretty good to you?
Mhm.
Okay. What's something that we might want to be careful of here?
If a lot of employees get paid a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the bigger picture, what we're looking for. Somebody's getting paid something because there's a lot of activity. And so there's not much here on the directors and the legal people and all that. So somewhere down there in this tax return, somebody's getting paid. So we won't look for it right now, but that could be what's going on. Because they're doing what, 3 million? Was it 3 million? Is that the number?
Yeah.
Yeah, when that much money, when that much activity is going on, you got to have a lot of people that are getting paid. We do have a lot of volunteers in the world, but at certain points we have to pay people to make it work right.
But Dan,
So, yeah,
this is Lincoln's dad. I know a little bit about the pantry. They have their director who is paid, and I think she's listed there on page 7, but
yeah,
there really is a tremendous volunteer corps here. Our church assigns missionaries to serve there also
okay.
as volunteers. So I think honestly, they have one paid employee and everyone else is volunteer.
Do you think that's 100% volunteer then? Pretty
I
much.
I think it is. They may have one other paid employee. What does page 7 show? I can't remember now.
It was just one.
Yeah, is her name?
Lorna.
Yeah, Lorna Kai. So I really do think that's accurate.
Okay. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that's one thing that you got to kind of pay attention to when you
Yeah.
look at these things, is if it's a little, that's really good news, really exceptional. But you have to be sometimes a little bit skeptical too. So Lincoln, what do we do next here?
We go to page 9.
Page 9. Okay. What are we looking for on this page?
How much of their funding comes from government?
Okay. And how much do we have coming in?
I got 9.2%.
Okay, about 10%. And what is that? That gets them how many points?
3.
Gives them 3. Okay, super. So a real low amount. What do we do next, Lincoln?
Go to page 10 and it's saying how much they give to other organizations.
Yeah, we look at line 1B. We see if they're what they call a pass-through organization. And so there's 0 here. And so what does that give them for a score?
3 points.
Okay. And then one thing I did on this tax return, I had it ahead of time, so it gets really confusing on what column is what when you're down here. So I tried to make it a little easier. These are the numbers we use to divide and subtract and multiply and all that good stuff. So Lincoln, what do? We divide what line? Line 25 what?
C.
25C by 25A?
A. Yeah.
And what, do you have a percentage on what that is?
I got 1.6.
I think it's higher. Is that right? 10%. It's probably right. Yeah, I guess so. I don't have my calculator here. Anyway, they get a 3, and then on the fundraising side, they spend a little bit. And what percent did they get here?
6.6.
0.6, okay. So they got a 3. So overall, they look really good. They got an 18. Is that right? They get it.
Mhm.
And so anything else you'd like, or does anybody have some questions for Lincoln? Nicely done, Lincoln.
Thank you.
No, you had no help with this, is that correct?
Not at all.
You know, I was born at night, but not last night. So, anyway, it's good to have good help. Like, one thing in life is you got to learn how to hire, right? That's what Kwame taught me. You want to hire better than you are. So you've done a good job. Thanks so much. Did anybody have a question for Lincoln, by the way? We're letting them off really easy here. All right, Lincoln. So, Lincoln, you know what to do with your paperwork and all that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, make sure you tell your mom this is what you got to do. So you got to do the form, the return, the analysis form, and you email it to Miss Beck. And your dad is the one that busted me on the email address. So he's on his game.
All right, thank you.
You are welcome. So let's go next to on the Ben family. And who had red barns?
That would be me.
All right, who's me?
I'm Jameson.
Jameson, what's happening? Did you go to church
Nothing
today?
much.
Did you go to
I
church
did go to
today?
church today.
Did you pay attention?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we want a little better behavior this week, Jameson. I'm glad you paid attention. So what do we got going on here, Jameson?
So the red barn it's like a can you mute yourself or something? I'm getting mad echo. Okay, so the Red Barn is like an association that helps recovering drug addicts, like that mainly that have been in prison or just like that need help, and they're based out of our county, Davis County, Utah. And they're just over in the next city over us in like Farmington area. And they have this program that is free. Anyone can come into it, and it's free to come in. And it's just like their motto is not a rehab center where they like give you like drugs or something to help you, or like medications or stuff like that, or it's not like portrayed as a rehab center. It's a lifestyle change is what they portray it as. So you go and you work either on their farm, in their restaurant, in their moving company that they have, and they have a thrift store as well that they do. So they have like 4 different companies within this center that they work on, and it's just like it's portrayed as a lifestyle change to help them learn new things, learn basic like life skills and get them back up on their feet. So yeah.
And have you been out there?
Yeah, I've eaten at their restaurant before, and we found out about this because both of my cousins are drug addicts, and so we were trying to get some of them some help for them, but it didn't end up working out. But
well, thanks for helping your cousins. That's always when it's your family, it makes it a little more real, and it makes it a little harder sometimes. So stay at it. Are your cousins about the same age as you?
No, they're like, one of them is like 25, and then the other one's like 19, 20. So.
Oh, okay. And how long were your cousins there, if you don't mind telling us?
Sorry, say that again.
How long were your cousins there, if you don't mind telling us?
Oh no, they didn't go. They live in California, but we were trying to get them to come out and to this place to help them out, but it didn't end up working out.
Oh, okay, okay. Any questions so far, anybody? Veronica, how about you? You haven't spoken much tonight. And,
I'm here.
We need your wisdom.
No, it's good. It's definitely, when we hear passion, you guys are excited about the programs. It's, it gets us excited. So, it's making sure that you guys volunteer, like the first, Kwame, right? How you said that you wanted to get more involved, you wanted to kind of, continue to provide your, your support to this organization. That's what we want to hear. It's not just doing the exercise, but it's how can you help this organization, whether it's volunteer time or just sharing, what they do. But yeah, I like that. I like these stories.
All right, Jameson, we're going to go back and you're going to tell us how you scored these guys. And let's take a look here. So Jameson has his beautiful little GU 990 analysis, our favorite form. Believe it or not, we didn't used to have this, and it was so much harder to score this kind of stuff. The ones doing the scoring was us, me, and a couple other guys. So anyway, this helps a lot. So Jameson, what's the first thing on deck here? What do we do?
We go to line 9 and we divide that by line 12.
And we get, what kind of score do we get?
We got a 3, so it was 33.5%.
Okay. And Jameson, anything new from what you spoke of in that line there? And mental wellness.
I'm not sure.
Okay. They focus on addiction recovery and mental wellness. So, sometimes with this, you have to be a teeny bit careful that it just isn't throwing a bunch of pills at people. And I don't think that's what these guys do, but that's sometimes what can happen.
Okay.
I speak from personal experience. So what's up next? What do we do next then?
Go to pages 7 and 8.
And let's take a look here. It's page 7. And we're looking for some big numbers, and I think they got 3 here. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did.
And let's look at here. They're local to you. About $1 million a year, so that's good. Did you say you'd gone out there and helped them a couple times?
Yeah, yeah. I went out and ate at their restaurant.
Did you do any work or just eat?
No, I don't think that you can do work for them. I think it's just for people that are drug addicts.
Oh, there's no volunteer work?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, I was really proud that you ate. So, because I could do that pretty well. All right.
It's just a way of contributing, I think.
There you go. You sound like me. I like that. What do we do on this one?
You divide line 1E by 1H.
Yeah, this is page 9, and the 1E is blank, so that's a 3. Government grants. And if this is close to like 90%, what's the problem with that on government grants?
If it's like super high government funding, then it just it doesn't work out. I don't know. It just doesn't. If it's all government money, then it's really not making that much of a difference, I feel like.
Okay, that's a good point. And it's like you're at the whim of politicians.
Yeah.
I know an organization that got $500,000 from funded, and then we changed presidents and it went down to 0. So there is something to be said for who you elect. what are we doing down here? What number are we on the second from bottom one? Is that the right one or the third from bottom?
Third from bottom, page 10.
I need to pay attention. That's this one up here, 1B, right?
Yeah, 1B by 25B.
And that would be another 3.
Yep, because 1B is 0.
And then what is the next to last one?
Page 10, line 25C. Divide that by 25A.
And what number do you get?
13.2%.
Okay, so that takes them to a 2, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
2. Okay. And then in line D is what percent is that?
For the last one,
Yeah.
3.4%. So it's another 3.
Okay. So they scored overall as 17, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't know, some of you that have had trouble with some of the tax returns, is this kind of helping you out, sort through it a little bit?
Yes, it's definitely helping me out.
Okay. It's a lot, you know, the boxes are there, and I like to put little colors in them because you're spending half the time looking for the box. And then you get nervous, and then, then you divide wrong. And so it can be kind of you can spin downhill a little bit on these tax returns. So anyway, that was a nice job. Any questions for Jameson? Looks like a good group. It's exciting because we're learning, one of the things in Giving University, we learn about a lot of different good nonprofits out there that we've never heard of before. And that's part of what, the classes do for Giving University is just point us in the direction of great nonprofits that you
Hey,
guys have done.
Jameson, what success rate do they show? How much, what is their success rate?
Look at their website. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I could look at their website and tell you in just a second, but
Right.
that'll just take me just a second.
That's a good question. Good question.
I can share a quick story that this restaurant opened up. They call it Sticky Bird. It's a chicken sandwich restaurant, and it's in a big red barn. And so we got an advertisement in the mail, and we went there to eat, and we had no idea what it was. And I just got talking to the guy taking the orders, and the guy started telling me he was one of the participants, right? He was a recovering drug addict. He started telling me, he's like, this place has changed my life. He says, I was addicted to opioids, and these people have given me a job and taught me how to take care of myself, opened a bank account. And it was amazing. I was like, and that was the first time we had learned about this. And so we came home and we looked them up. This was a couple of years ago. And we've just been super impressed with them ever since. They're doing a lot of good in the community.
Awesome. Jonathan, did anything show up there for you?
I'm not.
See you. We'll come back to it. Maybe why don't you do this during the week, next week, to see if you can find out a little bit about some of the successes they're having. If there's a raid or anything like that, that'll kind of give you a little clue on how well they're doing.
Sure. He accidentally exited out of the meeting, but he's sitting right behind me.
Oh, there
He'll
we
do
go.
that. He'll look it up for next week, and we'll figure it out.
All righty. That's a great question. Thanks, Terry. Okay, we're going to the next one, and this is number 5, and then we're going to do our PowerPoint. Who had Utah Refugee Connection?
That's me, Dan.
And who's me?
Shalise.
Chili's. Okay. Seems like the world is busy making refugees these days. So
Yeah.
probably got a lot going on here. So tell me a
Right.
little bit about these guys.
So yeah, I think we all have refugees just a little bit on our mind. I know that I think the number that I was seeing was that there are 65,000 in the state of Utah alone. So we do get a lot of refugees here, as does every state, I'm sure. So Utah Refugee Connection is, I think, the way I would describe it is kind of the way to connect refugees with the help they need to become self-reliant and assimilate into the community. So they're working with a lot of the other organizations in the community that will help them assimilate, like I said.
How did you learn about them?
Really just researching through GuideStar and doing like a ton of Google searching of like what refugee resources are available here. So,
okay, just from our class here.
Yeah, just from the class. So picking a topic that was meaningful to me and then trying to find an organization that fit that bill.
And Shalice, this is the one that Lisa Barlow volunteers at.
Right, right. So, and we also have a friend that works heavily with them. So they do everything from youth mentoring to a lot of English tutoring, especially for young kids. They try to set people up with skills training from like sewing to you know, opening a business by themselves. So, you know, it's kind of all over the map, but like I said, I think their biggest idea is to connect people with the resources available in their community.
How many refugees are they helping right now, or is there any such number?
Let's see if I can find that number.
Or did you come across a number at all?
I didn't see that number. I'm seeing that they serve, you know, 40,000 hours of service given in the community.
Okay.
So I could probably find that number too. They're good questions.
Yeah, it may vary up and down quite a bit, you know, since we're manufacturing refugees these days, it's probably pretty high. So anyway, just kind of curious. Anything else about them? Have you gone down there and help, or are you going to go down and help them, or what are you thinking?
So our community put together hygiene kits. Is that what we were calling them? More like a welcome home kit when we received a bunch of refugees from Afghanistan.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we've participated. I haven't been to their center in person.
Okay.
I went down once to deliver those kits, and they're pretty small. They're right behind the local high school, and they've got a couple of portables that I think the high school's given them, but they're well organized, and we filled up a good quarter of one of their portables with our hygiene kits. We had a youth conference for our church in January, and this was the service project for the youth conference, and I think we made some, I don't know, 400, 500 hygiene kits for them.
Okay, awesome. And you can see whatever year this is, they really jumped up. 2019 would be the actual year, so they've made a big jump from the previous year, from 81 to 1080. Okay, so tell me about what we're supposed to be looking at here, Shalice.
So you divide line 9, which was 0, by 12, which was 1 million. And so they got a score of 0, which was 3 points in box 1.
Percent of 3, which equals 0 equals 3. Yep. And then we go down to page 7 and 8.
We're looking for the payment of the employees. They only show one making 60,000. So again, they get a 0 score, or a score of 3 points. And I guess I have a question here, Dan. What other kinds of things would you be looking for? Because in all of our organizations that we've done as a family, we were just seeing a couple of employees that.
Yeah, you're seeing that kind of an unusual group. A lot of times you'll have people get a score of 2. These are smaller nonprofits. Like I think we say go up to 60 million or something like that. And these are pretty small nonprofits. So you're going to get a lot more volunteers and that type of thing. But
Okay.
yeah, you're the ones you guys gave me were all like one person, was doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and which is fine. And your church probably helps, with some of it and all that good stuff. So these are all board members. Now, a lot of times board members are at 0 anyway. But I
Mhm.
think on this, you're supposed to put key employees also right here.
Okay.
So it's not just board, it's your, whoever's running the place and doing the stuff. It's not just, they're not low just because it's a board.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good question. Oh yeah, I did 10 on the set. This is page 9 and it's 3.
So we're
Yeah.
dividing line 1E by 1H, and 1E was 0, so get the score. 0%, so 3 points.
And your question about this one, why we're getting all the zeros, trust me, there's a lot of them out there getting a lot of money.
Are there?
Oh yeah, it's a big business.
Okay.
And then on this one, we look at line 1B. I think it's this one right here, correct? 1B
By 25B.
25B, which is here. So that's another 3. And that's really low, and that's really low. So they're 18. So they look really good. Does anybody have any questions or comments? There's probably all kinds of refugee things all over the place these days. And also we want to help refugees. There's a lot of debate on how we get so many refugees all of a sudden, but it's something we can help out on. Okay, we're going to go into the lesson. So I'm going to excuse Elena. I'm going to excuse Elena for about a half hour. So Elena, go do some homework. And
Hey, Dan,
Yeah.
could you let Jameson back into the meeting? He should be waiting now.
Oh yeah, I was going to charge him, but I'll let him in.
Thank you.
So let me get my slideshow up here. So anyway, how about I share? There we go. So Veronica, you want me to just take it for a while?
All right, I'm gonna try because this is a new new slides for me. So let's
No,
let me see if I can share my screen.
you want me to take it, or do you want
Yeah,
to?
can you start it?
Sure. We're going to talk tonight about society and mental poverty. And it's really the poverty of our culture in a lot of ways. So we're going to talk a little bit about homelessness, trauma, and some other factors that are influencing our culture. So this is the one that you've seen a bit. So the question is homelessness getting better or worse in the United States? And the answer is better in the longer term, worse in the shorter term. I live in California, and I think we're getting worse all the time on that. California is getting much worse, and most other states are getting a little better. This is the latest trend chart I picked up. You can kind of see it's going down long term, but it's kind of been tilting up again. And so I don't know if this is going to hold or not. Maybe some of this is because of COVID, but not really because it's 2020. So, over the long term, that line is going down, but, I think it could be debated whether it's going to stay down. Here's some of the top reasons for homelessness and different types of homelessness. The short term, which is the first line there. And the best way to help is have an emergency shelter. So a lot of times it's job loss, a natural disaster, or maybe some kind of unsafe housing conditions. There's medium-term homelessness. I guess the first one, the short term up there would be up to 60 days, maybe something like that. The medium term homelessness might be 6 months to a year, somewhere in there. There's family conflict. The best way to help is transitional housing. There's family conflict, runaways, domestic violence, recent incarceration. And so again, the best way to help with this kind of homelessness is transitional housing. The third type of homelessness is long-term, and the best way you can help is with permanent housing. This is the most expensive from a cost perspective, and it might be because of substance abuse and mental illness. We're going to come back a little bit to homelessness, but that was just kind of a quick overview. We're going to shift to trauma, and we didn't used to have this in our presentation, but we came across some a good class, and really a lot of what happens with trauma is it's kind of a driving force sometimes to real serious problems and homelessness. So I'm going to show you this video. So I hope it's quick. Trauma, just to give you a quick idea.
The most important.
Can you guys hear that?
Yes.
Important thing to know is that there's a difference between trauma and stress. As I like to say to people, life sucks a good amount of the time. We all have jobs and situations that are really unpleasant. But the moment that situation is over, it's over. The problem with trauma is that when it's over, your body continues to relive it. My name is Bessel van der Kolk. I'm a psychiatrist, neuroscientist, and author of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. I got interested in trauma on my first day working at the Veterans Administration. 1978 was the year, and the Vietnam War was over by about 6 or 7 years. The very first day that I met Vietnam veterans, I was just blown away. These were guys who were my age, who were clearly smart and competent and athletic, and they clearly were just a shadow of their former self. Their bodies were clearly affected by trauma, and they had a very hard time connecting with new people after the war. Around that time, a group of us started to define what trauma is, and in the definition of PTSD, we write, these people have been exposed to an extraordinary event that is outside of normal human experience. In retrospect, that shows us how ignorant and narrow-minded we were, because it turned out that this is not an unusual experience at all. People usually think about the military when they talk about trauma, but at least 1 out of 8 kids in America witness physical violence between their parents. A larger number of kids get beaten very hard by their own caregivers. A very large number of people in general, but women in particular, have sexual experiences that were clearly unwanted and that left them confused and enraged. So, unlike what we first thought, trauma is actually extremely common. There's a lot of debate of what a trauma is to this day. But basically, trauma is something that happens to you that makes you so upset that it overwhelms you. There is nothing you can do to stave off the inevitable. You basically collapse in a state of confusion, maybe rage, because you are unable to function in the face of this particular threat. But the trauma is not the event that happens, the trauma is how you respond to it. One of the largest mitigating factors against getting traumatized is who is there for you at that particular time. When, as a kid, you get bitten by a dog, it's really very scary and very nasty. But if your parents pick you up and say, "Oh, I see that you're really in bad shape, let me help you," that dog bite doesn't become a big issue because the foundation of your safety has not been destroyed. We are profoundly interdependent people, and as long as our relationships are intact, by and large, we're pretty good with trauma. It's a subjective experience, and what may be traumatic for you may not be traumatic for me, depending on our personality and our prior experiences. The problem with trauma is that it starts off with something that happens to us, but that's not where it stops, because it changes your brain. Much of the imprint of trauma is in that very primitive survival part of your brain that I like to call the cockroach brain. There's a part of you that just picks up what's dangerous and what's safe. And when you're traumatized, that little part of your brain, which is usually very quiet, continues to just send messages. I'm in danger. I'm not safe. That event itself is over, but you continue to react to things as if you're in danger. We are talking about survival. We are talking about staying alive. And so some people go into fight flight, or on a more primitive level, people's brain shuts down and they collapse. You have these automatic responses that are not a product of your cognitive assessment, they're a product of your animal brain trying to stay alive in the face of something that part of your brain interprets as a life threat. And the problem then becomes that you are not able to engage, or to learn, or to see other people's point of view, or to coordinate your feelings with your thinking. Traumatized people have a tremendous problem experiencing pleasure and joy. But the core issue is our hormones and our physiological impulses that have to do with survival. Your body keeps mobilizing itself to fight. You have all kinds of immunological abnormalities, endocrine abnormalities, and that really devastates your physical health also. Oftentimes the physical problems are longer lasting than the mental problems. And the other thing that is terribly important is the impact of poverty, or the impact of racism, or the impact of unemployment. There's other societies that are much more trauma savvy than we are, where there is not an enormous amount of income inequality. Healthcare is universal, childcare is universal. A culture like that really looks at what are the antecedents for certain forms of pathology. So the big issue is a political issue. How do we rearrange our society to really know about trauma so that people who grow up under extreme adverse conditions can become full-fledged members of society? The sense of community and people being there for each other is a critical part of surviving and thriving.
Get smarter faster with new videos.
Okay, so that's a real short video clip. I don't agree with everything on the clip, but it just gives you kind of a feel for the subject of trauma in general. So we're going to talk through some more slides here. So homelessness and substance abuse, is it possible that our brains lead us into homelessness and substance abuse due to trauma? And if so, how should this affect how we look at these problems? And how should this affect how we interact with people? The reality of emotional issues of trauma. Trauma leaves a lasting imprint on the brain. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of times people that have pretty normal lives, or pretty normal, don't quite understand some of the longer lasting effects on people's brains. People affected by trauma can be re-traumatized in reaction to a conversation that seems harmless to most people. In other words, it kind of flip out. And sometimes people don't know what's going on.
Hey, Dan,
Yeah,
we're not seeing your slides if you're trying to show us.
that would be something I should do. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes trauma leaves a lasting imprint on the brain. People affected can be re-traumatized in reaction to something that oftentimes happened earlier in their lives. There's a scoring thing called ACE, and it's really scoring adverse childhood experiences, and it's called ACE. And what they found is a particular set of traumas has been studied for over 30 years, and the statistics have been staggering. The following slides allow you to score yourself. It is possible that doing this exercise will actually cause trauma. So if you think you might be uncomfortable, then you feel free to take a break, because that's not, we're not here to re-traumatize you or trigger something that might not be healthy for you. So anyway, if you'd like to take a break for 10 or 15 minutes, that would be fine. Does everybody feel okay? So are kind of seeing this? Okay.
Yes.
Now, let me share my screen again. So here's, if you want to get a piece of paper, you might want to write this down. I don't want to know your score. And I'm not going to know your score, but you might want to see kind of where you are, because I'll give you some trends based a little bit on your scoring here. So when you were a child, was a family member incarcerated? Was a family member an alcoholic or drug abuser? Was a family member mentally ill or attempted suicide? Did you experience the loss of a parent either through divorce, death, or adoption, fostering? Was one of your parents physically abused by the other? So if you want to make a note on any of those, feel free. Question 6 to 10, when you were a child, were you physically abused often or very often? Were you often humiliated or insulted by a parent? Were you touched in a sexual way by someone more than 5 years older than you? Did you often go hungry or have to wear dirty clothes? And did you often feel that no one in your house thought you were important? In other words, you were emotionally neglected. This became a lot more real to me. My daughter took in some foster kids, and it's a different world for sure than I was used to. And so you get a little more scoring in some of these areas with those kids. So here's how the scoring broke out on a percentage basis. 0 was the biggest number. So a lot of people haven't had any traumatic childhood events. Number 1 is 26%. So that's 62% on the first two. And then the last three would be 38%. So about 40% of our population has had some pretty traumatic events. This is kind of how it's correlated with homelessness. If the scoring got up to 6 or more, then 27% of those people have experienced homelessness. And so that's kind of where we correlated the trauma and some of the homelessness that goes on. It's their ACE score is kind of high, and that'll put about a third of them out in the street. Some staggering statistics: people who scored 4 plus 4 compared to people who scored 0. The plus 4 people are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with chronic depression, 6 times more likely to abuse illicit drugs, and probably legal drugs, prescription drugs also, and 10 times more likely to attempt suicide. So there's some more statistics. Remember we talked about what was the thing that drove most people to poverty? It was this one right here, not finishing high school. And so of the people that score 4 or more compared to the 0 people, 40% are more likely to drop out of high school. They're twice as likely to be unemployed. They're 3 times more likely to regularly miss work. And they're 4 times more likely to have serious problems performing a job. And there's some science behind the statistics. Cortisone and adrenaline give us our fight or flight responses. These chemicals are created by our body become toxic to our body after 20 minutes. So if you're in that state of mind after 20 minutes, you're doing some damage to your body. People who live under prolonged chronic stress will see changes to their brain chemistry. And so high stress will take you to places you don't want to be. The science behind the statistics: the amygdala, which controls fight or flight, gets separated from the frontal cortex, which controls logic. That's in the brain. The body takes over. Reactions don't make sense to observers because they don't involve logic. And we have no choice in the way our body decides how to respond. So people that are experiencing a high degree of trauma, they really can't control themselves a lot of times. There's something called a double bind. A double bind occurs when the caregiver of a child is also the traumatizer. So in other words, the parent who is supposed to be the caregiver is the one traumatizing the kid. So it's a double shot. The healthy cycle is needed. The healthy cycle is when child has a need, caregiver meets the need, and child feels comfort. When the caregiver does not meet the need, or the caregiver meets the need but with anger, fear, or contradictory signals, the child is not comforted. And so the brain experiences confusion that has lasting effects in chemistry and DNA. The child will learn to cope, because as human beings will learn to cope, they will develop a coping mechanism that lasts in some way throughout adulthood. You get the attitude of, if I feel discomfort, I won't be comforted. And so there's that sense of desperation. Even after many healthy cycles, the brain doesn't learn. So even with a lot of recovery, your brain kind of goes back to the negative. Mirror neurons. Your body subconsciously mirrors the emotions of people you are in contact with. That's why you smile when someone smiles. It's why you fold your arms when somebody else folds their arms. It's why you yawn when somebody else yawns. It's why you have a reaction when watching pain on TV or in a movie. Mirror neurons in trauma. Our brains mirror trauma long before we develop reasoning skills. Trauma can be experienced in the room and during a childbirth. And infants feel anxiety, anger, anxiety, and fear from their parents. And there's a generational impact of trauma. Parents with high ACE scores often resolve, they want to stop the cycle. I've seen this in my own family. There is a high desire to want to stop it. They make sure their children don't experience these traumas. So why do many of these children have a high rate of anxiety and other issues? In other words, why doesn't the cycle stop? Thanks to mirror neurons and modified DNA, parent trauma is passed on to the children in many cases. I'm going to read a text my daughter sent me today. And let me find it here. Give me just a second. My daughter is my daughter's in the foster world. And I almost got it here. So this is what I woke up to this morning. Elisa, this is my daughter, Carissa. She lives in Denver. Elisa and Adam are our friends and our foster parents with 3 bio and 3 foster. And the mom that's been giving birth to the foster kids, the mom and new baby both tested positive for meth. The 4th baby was born yesterday. Now Adam and Elisa have to decide with God how to be obedient. There's no easy answer. They already have a 1, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10-year-old. The county wants them to take the newborn. I care about the unborn baby who just was born. It's complicated. Generational cycles and sin that run really, really deep are really hard. And so that's just a little experience I had today of the reality of the cycle that's so hard to break. And it's sometimes easy as a pro-life person, just preach, don't take the lives of preborn babies. But on the other hand, my daughter deals in the world of foster kids, and it's like this is the 6th, was it the 4th one the foster mom had. And so it just goes on and on and on and on. And this is some scripture, some of you that are faith. The verse that's important here is don't bow down and worship idols. I am the Lord your God, and I demand all your love. If you reject me, I will punish your families for 3 or 4 generations. So that's kind of referring to some of the generational issues. Trauma-informed interactions. If you knew ahead of time you were interacting with someone with a high trauma background, you might behave a certain way. You might have more patience. You might speak more gently, and you might give them more second chances. And what if we don't know if someone has a high trauma background? What would be the costs and benefits? What would the costs and benefits be of treating everyone as though they had a high trauma background? In other words, being a little nicer to people and being a little more sympathetic and empathetic. The journey back, is there a path to healing, emotional growth, or is it just more trauma? And this is kind of an illustration of a kind of a recovery path. The recovery path on this is really difficult, though. I mean, there's no simple formula. But if you can take an adult and look at their work life and their home life, they can experience healing at work or home, and they can experience safe or healing at work or home. They get both good worlds working together to help them recover, to help them. This gives them a chance. If it's unsafe at work or home, and the other place there's healing at work or home, there's a chance for survival, but there's no emotional growth. Let's go back to this one. This is their best chance they have of some recovery, some emotional growth. Is both pieces of their life, big pieces, are healthy and safe. And this is a half and half. It means you're just going to survive. And if it's neutral on one side or the other, and the other side is unsafe, you're just going to slowly deteriorate. And then if it's unsafe at work and unsafe at home, you spiral out of control. And sometimes, sometimes you prefer or choose to be homeless and kind of check out. So you guys got a copy of these slides. These are some resources to, if you want to take it deeper, because what I'm giving you is like a course they teach over, 3 months. I'm rushing through all this, and I feel a little bit like, it's just skimming the top a little bit. But if you want to take a little bit deeper look at some things, here's some books that are pretty good. One of the things we've looked at GU is what are the best ways for organizations to help these people. We talked about the shelter part a while back, but stage one is to try to help them immediately. Look for organizations that do this. Stage two is meet the practical needs of a job, training, rehab, etc. And I think Kwame was really dealing with a lot of this, is just helping people figure out a job, getting some rehab, just getting more positive about life, really. And then provide longer term healing for emotional and mental health issues. Helping those who are hurting. There's medication versus psychotherapy. Medication, psychotherapy, and their combination are effective in helping people with emotional behavior problems. Now, these take a lot of time and probably a lot of money. So this isn't, it doesn't get fixed tomorrow and you take some pills. The problem is depression. The treatment is cognitive behavioral therapy and interpersonal psychotherapy, possibly augmented by antidepressant medications. Anxiety disorders, cognitive behavior therapy, antidepressant medications, and anti-anxiety medications. And schizophrenia or bipolar disorders, antipsychotic or mood stabilizing medications required. Cognitive behavior or family psychotherapy can improve functional outcomes. I think there's also been, I don't know if you guys have seen it on the schizophrenia, but I think there's actually been a little bit of work with LSD that kind of is kind of a breaking over the last 10 years way of working with some of this. Kind of sounds weird, but I think that's, it's just such a serious thing that, they're looking through what they can. Any questions? Okay, let me keep going. Helping those who are hurting. Well, psychotherapy and medication are successful over time. Without a supportive environment, most people do not continue with necessary treatments, or they lean too heavily on medication, lacking critical psychotherapy. In other words, they just take the pills. And continuing our look at the bigger picture of societal and mental poverty, how did we get here? Some people might ask. It's a good question. When we look at homelessness, sometimes caused by trauma, what are some of the other trends that have caused this mental or societal poverty, really the breakdown of our society? There's some generational shifts that have happened from the 60s to the 80s. Free range childhoods, unchaperoned by adults, and learning from life experiences. So way back when, kids were a lot more free, they were outdoors a lot more, they kind of roamed the streets, and mom and dad weren't breathing down their necks, and there was a lot of freedom. They learned, they might have skinned their knees or cut their arms, and maybe that wouldn't have happened if the parent had been right on top of it, but they learned from the good and the bad. So from the 1990s to the present, there's been a rise in awareness of crime, especially directed at children. It's become much more prominent, and there's an effort to rein children in and keep them safe. I have kind of I think sometimes in our culture, safety is now a religion. It's like we just live to make everything 100% safe, and it just doesn't work that way. I think a lot of probably COVID was a little bit of that. There was 99%, everybody's going to be fine, but we're all worried about the 1%. How did we get here? The schools. There was a flight to safety in schools. Dangerous play structures were removed, moderated recess, anti-bullying, anti-violence, zero tolerance adoption. We adopted the religion of safety. The message is life is dangerous. Adults will protect you both from strangers and from other kids and from anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. Transitioning to adulthood, this is the problem. The parents' desire to continue overprotecting their kids from anything that makes them or us feel in danger. I tell people now, you get your kids to like 49 or 50. Protection from actual physical harm, or to even words and ideas that make us feel uncomfortable. This fosters self-righteousness, closed-mindedness, moral crusades, and even hostility. And we've experienced in a lot of ways the death of critical thinking. The loss of critical thinking, the long-standing educational theory, don't teach students what to think, teach them how to think. In other words, teach them how to take both sides of an issue and think about it. You debate the side they're not on. Strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, weak minds discuss people. That's pretty good. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. There's so little of that goes on these days, because we dig in so deeply to what we believe, and we just, we don't ever think there might be a different side and a different angle on the story. And higher education is pretty much a disaster anymore. What is the impact of this overprotective shift on young adults as they enter society? Less prepared to handle life's challenges, emotionally fragile, unable to cope with stress, constantly seeking safe spaces. Migration to either isolation or surrounding themselves with like-minded people, called tribalism. The culture that allows the concept of safety to creep so far that it equates emotional discomfort with physical danger is a culture that encourages people to systematically protect one another from the very experiences embedded in daily life that they need in order to become strong and healthy. Teaching kids that failures, insults, and painful experiences will do lasting damage is harmful in and of itself. Human beings need physical and mental challenges and stressors or we deteriorate. We need a little bit of stress. The rise in tribalism. Tribe, a group of people that feel connected to each other in a meaningful way because they share something in common that matters to them. The group allows them to make a distinction of us versus and them. Tribalism is a pattern of attitudes and behaviors we tend to adopt when we and we come to identify with our tribes. So the tribalism is us versus them. And we look for safe spaces. Depending on the tribal identity, a person can find themselves actually further isolated from society, can lead to greater difficulty integrating into society and greatly facilitated by social media. Social media is a subject all in itself. Both the physical and electronic isolation from people we disagree with allow the forces of confirmation bias, groupthink, and tribalism to push us still further apart. Children who have been social media natives practically all their lives usually become enraged at each other, prone to judgmentalism and to pursue moral campaigns, are stunted socially and cannot integrate well in adulthood. Social media and mental health. 6 ways social media affects our mental health. It's addictive. It triggers more sadness and less well-being. Compares our lives with others, and that's mentally unhealthy. It's also kind of deceiving ourselves. It can lead to jealousy and a vicious cycle, spawning an undercurrent of rage and hatred. We get caught in the delusion of thinking it will help. And more friends on social media doesn't mean you have more friends. Well, for discussion of electronic devices, the primary cause of the increase in mental illness is frequent use of smartphones and other electronic devices. Less than 2 hours a day seems to have no deleterious effects. But adolescents who spend several hours a day interacting with screens, particularly if they start in the early teen years or younger, have worse mental health outcomes than do adolescents who use these devices less and who spend more time in face-to-face social interaction. So you got to be extremely careful with these things. Our societies are filled with many emotionally hurting and isolated souls. Large numbers of children step into adulthood unprepared for life as an adult, especially children that receive disorder moderating drugs that suppress their ability to learn and to socialize accordingly later in adulthood. There's a lot of people too that are worried about boys because there's been a big movement to feminize boys and not let them be boys, and that's just done tremendous damage to men in our culture. Childhood overprotectiveness, tribalism, social media, and the lack of long-term continuous mental health assistance makes it far worse. Now that I've been so negative for about an hour, how do we make the world a better place, right? Taking action begins with each of us as we interact with the world in which we find ourselves each and every day. Government programs cannot address these mounting challenges. The government can't fix it all. Nonprofits and churches that are on the front lines in addressing social and mental poverty need our support and, where possible, our participation. I think churches in general are a lot more open to helping mental illness issues and just this whole topic. I think there's been a lot of growth by churches of all denominations and flavors in trying to really help in the mental health aspect of what we've just been talking about. And I'm going to wrap this up because this has been long. This is some of our Giving University statements. We define generosity as freely giving or sharing things we value for the benefit of others. Generosity is something we live out in our lives day to day, freely giving or sharing love and kindness for the benefit of others. I would also say some days we're more generous than other days. And so it's a muscle, like a spiritual muscle that we need to exercise to grow in generosity. And why should we care? Our mission is to ignite generosity, leave the world a better place. We live in a world surrounded by people suffering from everything, hurting, lost, adrift, disconnected. What can we do to help? Generosity defined. This is good. Freely giving or sharing things we value for the benefit of others. It's not sharing or giving stuff we don't value quite so much for the benefit of others. It's giving or sharing things like our cash that we value or cherish for the benefit of others. Generosity is something we live out in our lives day to day, freely giving or sharing love and kindness for the benefit of others. There's a couple scriptures here for you that aren't on what I would call a faith journey. Forgive us for using this, but we think it's good stuff. And now I give you a new commandment: love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. And my children, our love should not just be words and talk, it must be true love, which shows itself in action. Be always humble, gentle, and patient. Show your love by being tolerant with one another. So anyway, that's a lot. And there's a lot of pages here. That's our longest one. And so is there any questions or comments? Because I know it was just me talking, but that's the only way I can plow through it. Any questions or comments or some thoughts about trauma, any of that kind of stuff?
Do you know how old that article was from Forbes magazine about screen use, smartphone use with adolescents?
No. I don't know if there was a date on it or not. Is it this one or the next one of these?
I'd be interested in reading that. There's an interesting, maybe someone has seen it, but there's an interesting documentary, I think on Netflix, called The Social Dilemma.
Right.
And it talks about how social media does promote tribalism through their algorithms, just keeps feeding you stories or whatever that is like what you think, and then it just keeps people separating more and more from each other, because you're like you become in an echo chamber. You're only hearing one side of the things.
Yeah, that's a big issue with free speech these days, is you're hearing only one side of the story a lot of times, and you're only hearing what big media wants you to hear. But there's a big pushback against it also, because people aren't, you can be fooled for a while. But after a while, you realize that people are kind of playing with you, playing with what you're hearing. What you're getting is your information.
Yeah, if anyone has never seen that movie, I would highly recommend it. The Social Dilemma.
Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Let me go around. Let me go back to our grants. Thanks for your patience on that. That's a lot. It's a new part of what we teach, and I think it's too long, but I've cut it down a little bit, and sometimes I think it might be a little too much, but for what we're doing. But anyway, it's good to know. I think the thing that is this. Veronica is a supervisor at her office, and so she knows that Sally has bad trauma. So what does Veronica do as a good supervisor when Sally is late a lot? How does that work? Come on, you guys are problem fixers out there. Anybody?
Well, before any disciplinary action would have been taken, like on normal jobs, if you late 1 or 2 times, they pretty much ask you why you're late. You know, you can't solve a problem without knowing the cause. From there, you know, she would go from there. Sometimes
Hey, Kayla, I'm getting really bad echoey feedback.
is it better now?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, yeah, sorry. But I was saying, you know, like on normal jobs, the first or second time that you're late, they pretty much try to find out, you know, what the cause is. The job that I work now, we work from home, but we had a lady that was late every day, even though we were working from home. And they asked her what the issue was, and hers was, you know, her kids had to be to school at a certain time. So they changed their shift. So it's things like that.
Right. It's a really tough balance. Because as you know, if you believe half of what I told you tonight, trauma, it affects your mind, so the people that have trauma in high numbers can't, you know, a lot of times they can't help it, because that's just how their brain's just wired to protect them. And so, you know, you have to balance the high expectations you might have of all your staff. But if you know this one person has a whole bunch of trauma going on, it's like, what do you do? It's really easy to talk about a solution, but it's hard to live that solution in an office on Tuesday, you know, morning when the person's missing that's supposed to take care of their work. I guess the best thing about it is you're aware of it, and if it makes you more sensitive and a kinder person, and maybe you give that person a few breaks, that's probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing. But I know my friend at Cross Purpose has told me that, you know, because where I work, we've hired some people that just got out of jail. And so we say, you know, what's our odds here? And it's really low. I mean, you do everything you can, but it's just really tough. The number is really low. But he also said this, Jesus said to work with the prisoners and the widows and the broken. And he said, that's what I do. He didn't say base it on the results. And so if you're a faith person, that's, you know, some of what you have to anchor yourself to, because that's what you're, you know, that's your teaching. That's what you're taught. But it's difficult. Okay. Somebody took a break. That's fine. It was fine with me. And let me go around real quick, because we got to knock the rest of our grants out. I don't know if anybody has any more this week, but Adriana, are you going to be good for next week?
So can I get some help on the math? I've done everything else for the grant.
Okay.
And I have the numbers.
Okay, let's see if we can help her out real quick. I'm going to, to make up our Memorial Night, we're going to go to 8 o'clock tonight. And then we're going to start at 5:30 next week. And we'll get through everything. So let me pull up Guide Star. And what's the name of your group?
The Hope House, Colorado.
So let's all give her a hand here. And let me share my screen. Okay, is that it right there?
That's the one. It's on Arvada.
Okay, super. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so why don't you tell us what you got on the first one? The first one is line 9, right?
So it's page 1,
Okay,
line 9, yeah, measures how much of their revenue comes from charging for stuff. So
okay,
line
so,
9 is 51,000,
okay,
is that right?
yep,
And then divided by, is it 2,749,636?
yep. So tell us what you think that is. What's your calculator say?
So I came with 0.018. Is that
Okay.
right?
Yes.
It is? Okay.
Well, don't be so surprised. The calculators don't make mistakes.
Oh, I just took a QMAP class last week and I struggled with the math of doing metrics and liquids and all this kind of stuff. So
It's
it's
about
0.018. So is that
that's
if
about
that would
2.
be less than 60%, it's 3 points?
How much? What percent is 0.018?
I don't know.
It's about 1.8%.
It's so 018 is 1%,
1.8%.
1.8%. How do you get to that answer?
You take the decimal point and move it over 2 places to the right, and that's your percentage.
Okay, so it's 1.8%.
Yep. And so what score would you give them?
So it would be, it's less than 60%, so it would be 3 points.
There you go. That's very good.
Okay,
Let's go down to 7 and 9.
page 7 and 8 shows the highest paid salaries. And there's only one person, the executive director, and she only earns $85,535.
Okay, how
So
many
it's-
points do they get?
So that would be 3 points.
3 points. Very good. And then the next is page 9.
Page
right?
9, statement of revenue, line
Okay.
1E is divided by 1H. Line 1E is 0
Okay.
divided by 108,534.
It's divided by 2.695 million. But anyway, what's
Did
percentage?
I not get the numbers right?
I think it's 1H. But what is your percentage that you came up with?
So I didn't know how to do that one. It's 0 divided by 108,000. Did I get the numbers right for 108,000? Yeah, 108,534. I don't know what the answer is to that.
It's 0%.
0, okay. And so that would be 3 points.
Yes.
So far, so good.
Yeah, you're right on.
I really
you're-
struggled with this.
You're,
Okay. Page 10, statement of functional expenses. Line 1. B shows 187,265.
okay, that's the first
Point.
problem. That's the first problem.
Is
What
that
line-
right?
what line
Divided
are-
by,
What line are we on?
so this is line 1B on page 10.
Okay, so you're on line 2. This is line 1. That's line 1.
Did I not write? So it's 0?
Yeah, you had the line 2.
Oh, I had the wrong line then there.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be 0 divided by line 25B. I have 1,688,976. Did I get
Hmm.
that one right?
What percent did you give it?
So if I move the decimal over 2 points, it's going to be 1.087.
Yeah, let's start over here. Though. You're on line 1B, right? Is that correct? Is that the
Oh,
first
so
number?
I got the wrong, yeah, so 0 divided by 1.688. I don't know what the answer is to that. Is it 0?
0%.
Okay, so that would be 3 points.
Exactly.
I'm so excited. I get
And
to write a
it does-
grant for them.
It doesn't get any better than this, trust me.
Yeah, so I had an appointment to go visit the facility. And I
Okay.
have a lady from church that actually has volunteered for many, many years. She was one of Carol's close friends, but
Okay.
Mike got COVID 2
Okay,
weeks ago.
let's-
He's still sick upstairs, so I haven't been able to leave the house.
Let's finish
Page
the
10,
yeah,
I'm sorry?
let's finish the last two here.
Page 10, line 25C, third column is 254,585
mhm.
divided by 25A first column
And what did you get?
and 2,254,625. And I got, if I move the decimal over 2 places, it would be 1.288.
No,
No,
it would be 11%. 1.2. How many points do we give them at 11%?
11%. Less than 10% would be 3 points. More than 10% would be 2 points.
2 points, okay, very good. And then the last one is 311. Why don't you
The
divide?
last, I'm
yeah,
sorry,
Yeah, go ahead and divide 311,084.
page 10, line 25D. Is that where we're
Right.
at?
Right there, I have it
Okay,
highlighted.
so that's $311,064 divided by, I think it, so 25, so I'm so confused here. I wrote fourth column. I don't know where I got third column by 2,254,625. Is that right?
No, it's 2,000,000, it's the first number right here.
2,254,000. Yeah, that's what I said. So I got 0.13796. If I move that decimal over 2 points, it's 1, 2, will be 3.796.
No, it's 13%, 13.7. And how many
So-
points, do we give them on 13.7?
More than 10, less than 15. So would that be 1 point?
2 points.
2 points. Okay.
So I think they're at 16 or something like that.
16 points. Yes.
So you got a good chance with them.
Yeah.
Yep. And also watch the recording of last Tuesday,
I will.
because we went really slowly and had lots of fun.
Okay. Thank you.
Terry, you got it. Terry, how you doing on yours?
I'm doing just fine. I'm waiting for my people over at Acres of Hope to respond to my inquiry, but yeah, everything else is coming together very well.
And
I'll be
have you scored them?
Not yet. No, I'm still waiting to talk with the head person there. That's a double check. They went from 80,000 salary up to 100,000 salary, but that's the only salary there. And
Okay.
I'm just using it as an excuse to get in to speak with the lady.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put you up first next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, people love me that way. So Marco, how we doing?
I'm good. I'm still trying to get in contact with them as well. But
Okay.
other than that, everything's good. They scored an 18. And once I talk to them a little bit more, then I'll be ready.
Okay, what do you, okay, sounds good. Tyler, how are we doing with you? Did you do yours? Tyler, are you there?
Hey, I'm here.
And how are you doing with yours?
So with mine, I think I've decided which one I want to get in touch with, but I do need to contact them. And I did score them. And I think if I remember right, they had a 17. So I just need to get in touch with them.
Okay. And do you need to get in touch with them to turn something in?
Yes, I do actually.
Okay. And Elena, Angel, I know how you're doing. Ashlyn, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I just finished it up today, and I'm excited to share it with you guys because it's a cause that is close to my heart, but it's an organization that I didn't know existed until I started researching for this project.
Awesome. So the class paid off again, even with my boring class tonight. Dion, how we doing? Oh, where'd you go, Dion? Dion got mad and hit
Right
himself.
here. I'll be ready by next week.
Okay, have you scored them?
Say it again.
Have you scored your organization?
When I came up with it was 17.
17, sweet. All right, I'm looking forward to a great story. Kayla, how you doing?
I'm doing a lot better.
A lot better.
Watching you do these. So now tonight when we get off class, I'll know how to go back and do that part I was telling you about over so I can get a true score.
Okay, take your time on those calculators.
Thank you.
Karina, how you doing? Karina, are you there? I haven't seen Karina all night. She's been hiding from me. All right, well, Karina maybe fell asleep on me, but it wouldn't be the first time in class. Okay, Veronica, how you doing? You done with yours?
I'll present next week. No. Actually, I'm doing a roll call, and I noticed that there's still a few of you that have not turned in the Poverty Inc. Homework. So do I have an update on those? It looks like there's Tyler, you're one of them. Where are you at with your Poverty Inc. homework?
So I did finish it. I sent it to Beth. I don't know exactly who I should have sent it to, so I just sent it to Beth.
Okay, so I'll follow up with her just to make sure. Then I want to give you credit for it. So
okay,
that's what I'm asking. And then same thing with Dion, your Poverty Inc.
I'll turn it in by tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. And it looks like everyone else turned it in. Oh wait, DeMarco. Is it?
Yes, I'll send mine to Beth.
Okay, I'll follow up with Beth on that. I just want to give you guys credit.
Okay.
Okay. Looks like everyone else already turned them in. Okay, perfect.
Okay, you guys, thanks so much. Kwame, thanks for, did we leave you on third or did we get you home? That's all I want to know. Did you steal home? Did you have to steal home?
I slid home, man. I slid home.
You slid under the car?
Great.
Wow. You know, you stole home and then the next two batters got doubles. So, you know, you got a little aggressive. Macaulay, did I ask you about your grant? How you doing? Where was she at? Oh,
sorry, I was trying to unmute. Yeah, mine is fine. I'll be ready next week. Thank you for asking.
Okay. And did you score them already?
I did. Mine got a 16.
Sweet. Okay. Well, listen, next week will be our last week. We're starting at 5:30 sharp, so be here. We'll go over hopefully no more than 30 minutes and we'll wrap it all up. And so let's knock out these grants. The main thing is get all the stuff to Beth that I showed you on the slide. And go over that slide one more time because I know how you guys love my slides. So let's get back to that slide. Let's share it real quick. So you got to get that organizational form, the tax return, the 990 analysis. If you need any help, we're here to help. Beth will help. I'll help. Veronica will help. Because we're here to get you guys your grants passed. We're here to make you successful, and we're here to have a good time with you. And so that's where we'll be next week. So thanks so much for being patient. And if you get a chance to look through some of the stuff I covered tonight, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Excuse me, what time does the class start on Sunday?
Next week is 5:30.
5:30. Thank you.
Be there.
Can we log on at 5:15?
You can log on and say hi to me at 5:15. Be there, be square, and don't be in trouble with me. That's what I said.
And that's Pacific.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That's the only time. It's the only time zone that really matters. So that's
okay.
Okay. All right, see you guys later, and thanks so much.